Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Digging Deeper Moment 131. The mission of our Digging Deeper Moments is to take God's Word to God's world, and we are so glad that you've joined us. Now, before we get into tonight's lesson, I need you to do me a favor. If you've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so because it will help us spread lessons like this to others. Thank you. Now, we've been learning how to read the Old Testament prophets and along with them the book of Revelation, because Revelation is the one New Testament prophetical book. So far, we've given you 7 keys that unlock the understanding or what the meaning of the prophetical books of the Old Testament are. The first is Hebraic writing style, which is recursive or repetitious. We saw that in Digging Deeper number 121. The genre of literature used, and we covered 2, poetry, which is symbolic, and prose, which is plain speech. That is in Digging Deeper number 122. We looked at the Hebraic way of outlining something in a chiasm, and that's an outline that's shaped like an hourglass or the Greek letter chi. We saw that in Digging Deeper Moments 123 and Digging Deeper Moments 124. We looked at the thematic approach to writing, that the Hebrews wrote thematically, not linear or chronologically. They didn't write 1, 2, 3, they wrote 1, 7, 5, 9, depending on the theme. We did that in Digging Deeper 125. We looked at the way the prophets place short-term and long-term prophecies together in Digging Deeper Moment 126. And then we began to look at the 3 ways that the prophets communicated their message: in plain language, typology, and the apocalypse. And that was in Digging Deeper Moments 126, 127, and 128. And then we saw last week the 5 common symbols used by the prophets. We started looking at those in Digging Deeper number 129 and 130. Tonight, we're going to look at the 8th key that unlocks the meaning of the prophets. And this one is easy to miss, but it's vitally important. And it's going to take us a couple Digging Deeper moments to unpack it. And it is this. It's the arrangement of the Old Testament itself. The Bible used by Jesus had the same 39 books as the Christian Bible that we use today, but the way it was arranged, the way that Bible was arranged was different. Jesus' Bible was arranged differently than the Bible we have. The Christian Bible is arranged according to the Greek translation of the Bible, which is called the Septuagint. I did a study of this in Digging Deeper Moments 102 through 119. And we saw that in the Greek Bible, which is the one we use, there's 4 sections of the Old Testament. The first is the foundation, which is the first 5 books. Then there's the floor. These are the historical books, which take us from Joshua to the end of Kings, or actually Joshua to the end of Esther. We looked at the walls and the windows. That's the wisdom books, the 5 wisdom books. And then we looked at the roof, which is the prophets. That's the major prophets and the minor prophets, which end in Malachi. I went through that quickly. You may want to look at that Digging Deeper moment for yourself. Now, the Jewish Bible used by Jesus had the same 39 books, but instead of being divided into 4 sections, it was divided into 3 sections, which Jesus refers to in Luke chapter 24, verse 44, when he says, "These are the words I spoke to you while I was with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses," that's the first section, "and the prophets," the second, "and the Psalms concerning me." Now, according to Dr. Peter Gentry in his book, Kingdom Through Covenant, there are approximately 70 different ways that the Old Testament manuscripts are arranged in antiquity. And they fall into 3 categories. One, this is important, and it's a little technical, but it's important as we get into the end of this message today and next week's. First, they can be arranged chronologically. That is, in the order in which they were believed to be written. So the way that the books are found, the 39 books, is just the first one was written was first, the second one was written third, and so on. The second way that they find them arranged is liturgically. That is in the order in which passages were read in the synagogue services. And finally, the third one was arranged in what they call the literary rational, and that is based on the literary principles. The literary rational order, with its 3 sections of the law, the prophets, and the writings, is the one that Jesus is referring to in Luke 24:44, and it's the oldest one and it's the original one. Now, Gentry makes an important point concerning this threefold arrangement. He says each group contains history or a narrative, a historical narrative, plus another genre of text. Now, this is very important. In other words, the law of Moses, the first 5 books of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers and Deuteronomy, consist of history, historical narrative, plus instruction. So they give instructions. The prophets consist of history plus prophecy, and the writings consist of history plus other various writings. Now, we're going to see next week that this is very important, but I'm trying to lay a foundation here. But if you look at the arrangements of the books, it's as follows. And Jonathan's going to put this on the screen for you. These are the arrangements of the book. Now, Gentry also goes on to say there's a guiding principle for the arrangement of these books, not just in where they are and what section they're in and what order they're in, but there's also an arrangement of the books, a principle that is behind the arrangements in each section. In other words, each section is also intentionally organized. And he says this: the history books are arranged according to the chronology of the events narrated. So in other words, the books that were first record the events that first happened is first, and the next events second, third, and so on. And so that's the first guiding principle for within a section. The second is that the non-history books, the other types of writings, are arranged in the order of the size of the book. So you got Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and the 12 prophets. Jeremiah is the smaller of the book, Ezekiel, then Isaiah, and then the prophets. So the smaller one first, the larger ones last. And so this is going to have a bearing on how we understand the organization of the Old Testament, as well as the meaning of some of the things the prophets were saying. Now, this idea of the three sections being arranged according to the order of events, history and non-history books, is what is meant by the literary rational arrangement of the Old Testament, which was confirmed and accepted by Jesus. Now, I know all this may seem a little technical, and it is, but it does have a bearing on how we understand the message of the prophets, and we'll pick it up here next week. If this lesson helped you, please share it with a friend. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our Sunday morning live podcast on either Apple or Spotify. And if you'd like to partner with us as we take God's Word to God's world, we want you to know that we're doing a lot of things on video, and it's taken extra work, extra time, and extra expense. So if you can help us partner with us as we take God's Word to God's world, it'd be greatly appreciated. And you can do so by going to our website and clicking the How to Give tab. I hope to see you next week.